Hey Ringside crew, welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe Panther III.
Hey, hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And welcome this, and as I say this always, this month is very sentimental. It's September, kids. I know you're going back to school, but this month is dedicated to my grandpa, Jose Quinones, the Panther. We welcome to Lucha Month, where I give you all these awesome wrestlers with masks that have tons of stories, and I know they want to talk to you. Today, I have a gentleman. He wears a blue and white mask. I hear the clicking of the hoofs coming over. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Mr. Pegasus. Welcome to Dudes at Ringside podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Been looking forward to being on this on the Dudes at Ringside podcast for a while. So
awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. If my fans from the UK and from the East Coast, if they're not familiar with you, and why would they not be? Introduce yourself.
Well, you know, I'm the Dynamite Pegasus, trained out at in Southern California, SoCal, trained out specifically out of SoCal Pro Wrestling. So far, I'm still very green, even though I'm very blue. A year and a half wrestling, 2 years going on 3 training. So still a baby, you know, still very much a pony, I guess you could say, kind of finding his steps in the world of professional wrestling and lucha libre. But, you know, from the people I've gotten to wrestle and the advice I've gotten to have from the trainers that I've had, you know, I've definitely feel like I've had a world of advice, and I'm just looking forward to getting into more and really experiencing more of what this crazy world of lucha libre and professional wrestling has to offer.
Awesome. So who trained you?
Well, I was trained specifically by Tommy Wilson, Anthony Idol, and SoCal Crazy, which at the time were the top trainers at SoCal Pro.
So what kind of advice did they give you to this awesome? Your wrestling name is so awesome. Was there a lot of inspiration in that name, or was that something you just had in your mind when you were coming up with the name?
Well, actually, the Dynamite Pegasus has been a character that's lived in the back of my head since I was like, I don't know, maybe like 10, 12 years old. It spawned from a cartoon I used to watch as a kid from the Knights of the Zodiac, or Saint Seiya in Japanese and in Mexico. And it was basically about, you know, knights who basically donned the armor of whatever their governing constellation was. And I was always attracted, or very fond of the Pegasus Saint. So when I started wrestling and was pitched to, you know, maybe you should lean into getting a mask, and I was like, well, you know, the Dynamite Pegasus, this Pegasus Saint has always been in the back of my head. So when time came, you know, it manifested itself, and this dream I had as a little kid became reality.
Oh, wow. So with this being like the new era of indie wrestling now after COVID, do you find it like easier to like get the rundown of a card of like wrestlers where you go, and or like you find it harder now?
I guess it really depends on the promotion and the show. I've done a lot of shows where it's very much like an event happening, and then there's wrestling at the event. So most of those times it's the card is very free for all, I guess you would say, where it's like, you know, we're gonna have Pegasus wrestle this guy because we might be having a program down the line, so we're gonna go out there and show what we could do in front of the crowd and against each other. And then obviously when you're at like a better, or I wouldn't say a better, but when it's like an organized show or something that's along the lines of this is where people come to watch wrestling, the card is always known ahead of time. If I'm answering your question
Oh
correctly.
yeah, yeah. You did it. You did it right. You did it. You said it right. You did it right. So let's go into and talk about your mask. Like, who did you design that mask, or did the person that make it help you a lot with it, or like how did it come to be?
Well, the design is, like I said, it came from an anime I used to watch as a kid, and this is the design that's basically on the mask is essentially what was a crest on the characters in the anime, and I kind of took that and then just gave this basic idea to my mask to the person that was helping me design the mask at the time. Commando One was a wrestler out here in Southern California, and he basically was like, well, what if we put some extra designs on it? It was mostly an original idea with some input from my friend, but the mask itself is just an inspiration from the anime, and it's more or less original, I would say.
Awesome. So what's the name of the person that made the mask? Who's the designer? The
Well,
maker, but that he put it together. That's what I meant.
yeah, right. The designer is, like I said, as a friend of mine, is Commando One or from Los Commandos, but the mask maker for this one is a guy out in León, Guanajuato, Mexico. His name is Cosmico. He's a very, very good gear maker for any young wrestlers who can speak Spanish, because obviously there's a language barrier there, but obviously Google Translate can go ahead and help with all that. But he took the design that I sent him and he brought it to life, and it's what it is today. The mask was born, and I got a lot to credit to him, but it was his hands and that brought the vision to life.
Wow. So let's go back into you said you're very blue or green. So
Yes.
what was it like? What was your first match like? And did you have gear yet? Or was it just a t-shirt and a mask that you found on on a shelf?
No, actually, for my first, the very first time I got into a ring to wrestle, it was lent gear. Somebody had let me borrow basically a full blue spandex suit and a mask, and I had boots. So I went out. It was just a battle royal, and I got thrown over the top rope fairly quickly. But from there, I kind of felt really inspired in the blue, like spandex. So I then kind of started talking to my gear guy, or my friend Commando, and then the design for the mask came and the gear, and I sent it in. I sent the design to get made, and when I had my first singles match, like in front of people, I already had the mask. I had the whole gear set, so it was just a matter of, well, let's take everything that you've learned and see how well you can apply it out in front of the crowd.
Awesome. So is there any other place in the country or the world that you would like to perform that you haven't been to yet?
Yes, a lot of places. Obviously, I've just started out, so I've been mostly out in San Diego. I've wrestled in Temecula or Murrieta. I've gone to wrestle out in Fresno and Calexico, or very close along the border, but I haven't actually gone across the border to wrestle in Mexico or Tijuana even. And obviously, love to go wrestle in New York and on the East Coast. When WrestleMania was happening in Philadelphia, I knew a lot of guys that were going out that way, and I had been told, like, if you want the opportunity, you got to drive out there and stuff. But I just didn't think I was ready at the time, and I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't want to like do anything that I couldn't do out in front of people that were expecting really good wrestling.
Yeah.
So I kind of have kept myself in San Diego and at SoCal Pro for the most part, or for the promotions that I have been at, I've kept myself there. just because the crowds, I'm still getting used to them, still getting used to how to handle or manage the crowd when the situation maybe isn't going your way. And so I feel like I have a lot more to learn before I can really go and apply my craft other places. But at the same time, like the world of possibilities is infinite, and the want and desire is there. It's just I feel like I need to put in more work before I can uh, get those opportunities, or say that I've earned those opportunities. Really,
Yeah, that's the thing with wrestling. Everybody thinks that they're entitled to have whatever they want, and
yeah,
you stayed. For you, I know I could tell that you staying in Philly and staying up where you are in
yeah,
the
San
West
Diego.
Coast was a benefit for you, because a lot of people will say, "Oh, I go to Philly and they're gonna jump on me and be what they want." That's not always that's not always the other side of it. They'll see you come in and be like, "Who is this guy and why is he here? He's not doing anything for us. You just wasted a trip from West Coast to East Coast just to get told, no, sorry, we're all booked." You know what I
Right,
mean?
and no like no negative
Oh no,
feelings or
no.
anything towards any of them. Like I completely appreciate or like admire, right? Everyone that's like putting in all that work, like driving all those miles, like just to, as a lot of people say, for a hot dog and a handshake. Even though I guess, or I've heard nowadays, like that's such a cliche, but like I've known a lot of guys that have made long trips just to, get on the card. And I've always thought to myself, like, man, that's so admirable that you guys do that. Like, I just don't see myself at their level to where it's like I could do that as well. There's a lot of guys that I admire that it's obviously, you're not going to go into up to everyone in the locker room and be like, "Oh, bro, you're so awesome." But sometimes I do it.
Yeah, I meant no harm by what I said. It just,
Oh, no, not
it's
at all.
just
I didn't think you did either.
there's a lot of wrestlers that will. When I went to a promotion on Long Island one time. There was a guy that showed up that was a referee, and he's like, his shirt said "greatest referee," and they're like, "Oh, you are? Oh, sorry, we're all booked." And he just showed up wherever he was before. He showed up, found out there was a show, and got told no. That that must hurt so bad that you show up at a gate like I did on Long Island. That I got told there's something for me there, and then they said no, there's nothing for you here. After traveling 300 miles, getting told no. But that's what indie wrestling is like, I guess. I can't expect gold and a red carpet when I show up. It's like, we don't have red carpet. We're indies. You have the grass. You have a garbage or dirt on the floor. Here's your hot dog at the end of the show. Here's your half of a bag of French fries.
Well, the thing that was always instilled into me was you don't get opportunities in professional wrestling. You make your opportunity. So like the thing that was always told to me, it's like, do go to those shows, but never expect to be on the card or be booked. Always, but always expect, or always be ready or willing to help out in any capacity. Like before I even started wrestling, I would go to shows in the area and I would just help set up the ring, help sell concessions, sell the tickets, like anything that I could do just to get close to the wrestling business. Because to me at the time, I was, and still to this day, when anyone is like, "Oh, can we have you for a battle royal or anything?" I feel incredibly blessed to be able to get any opportunity. It's obviously, like with anything, as as you grow older, you have responsibilities, and I haven't gotten to take advantage of as many opportunities that I've gotten, which is always kind of festered in the back of my mind, like, oh, I'm not doing as much as I can or as much as I should. But I always try to remind myself that, like, to be able to, for me to be able to continue wrestling, I have to be able to support myself at home, right? Like, uh, make sure that there's always bread and butter on the table, so that I can make sure that there's cheers for the ring or something like that.
Yeah. So when it comes to the day of a show, do you like pack a dinner or a lunch or dinner so you don't have to like eat at the venue? Or do you have like an idea, okay, there's gonna be a McDonald's or a pizza place around the block?
Well, as much as I love, having a Big Mac or going down to Little Caesars or, getting some Pizza Hut, it's not always the best because I do have to be out in front of the crowd in the spandex and stuff. So I always got to rethink the fast food, especially because if when I'm when specifically me when I do shows, I don't like to wrestle on a full stomach, so I tend not to eat a lot before a show, just because I'm like scared that I'm gonna get hit and my stomach is gonna react poorly.
Yeah.
And so I usually restrain from eating until after the event. But then I like I said, like I was saying, it's in that case it's like harder to eat healthy when you're like I haven't eaten all day and it's like the only thing that's open is like Jack in the Box or McDonald's or whatever there's open, and you're just like, you know what, give me the worst thing you have on the menu.
Yeah. Like just give me the Ronald heart attack. I mean burger. Yeah. So um when it comes to your workout, what is your normal workout regimen like?
Well, I say one of the wrestlers at SoCal Pro, he's also a strength and conditioning coach. His name is Matthias, and he's an incredible wrestler. He's incredible, like he's such a beast in the ring and in the gym. So I asked him if he could go ahead and make a workout regimen for me because that's also what he does on the side. He's a strength and conditioning coach. So Mondays is squats. It's anything based around legs. Like I usually just I really just focus on squats, but there's like, leg extensions, leg press. It's mostly a leg day on a Monday. Then Tuesdays I really just end up doing a lot of cardio, a very light pace cardio. I mostly walk up on the treadmill at a full incline and at a steady pace. That way it's like it's not exactly cardio, but it's helping with maintaining weight. And then Wednesdays I do a lot of bench, or most workouts pertaining to pushing weight or pushing the bench bar.
Hmm.
Then, like I said, Thursdays is back to more cardio, and Fridays it's more like arms and a mixture of arms and legs. And then I finish up Saturday with a rounded out legs, and mostly because Saturdays are show days, I try not to go as heavy, but I try to keep it consistent. As to be honest with you, I'm not as consistent with my workout as I should be, but it's one of those things that I'm always on the back of my head about exercise and nutrition, which is, I guess, for most people, it wouldn't be that difficult. But coming from the background where I was, I used to be a very heavy set kid, so trying to mend those bad habits now that I'm
Mm.
older.
Yeah. Um, Before we go, Pegasus, if there was any kids that wanted to get into the business like you did, what kind of advice would you have for them?
The advice I would say is go for it, because a lot of the time what holds people back is the idea that, oh, I might not be good at it, or this. You're gonna put so many factors in your head to make you not want to do something. You should only focus on the reasons on why you do want to do something. And if there's ever an inkling to do anything, whether it's professional wrestling or, I don't know, starting a YouTube channel, a podcast, just go for it. It's going to be difficult at first, absolutely. Anything that's worth having or doing takes effort, but as long as you're willing to put in the work, and as long as you're willing to keep getting up, even if it's not your day, there's always a sense of victory in that. And that's always been the thing that's propelled me forward in doing this. I might not be the most athletic guy, or I might not even be the best looking guy in terms of physical shape, but I try to remind myself every day is like, as long as you keep on doing it, as long as you keep showing up, you're gonna have one ahead of the person that stopped showing up. So I tell like I said, just do it. I know that sounds really cliche, but just, you never know. Jump in the pool, take kiss the girl, start the YouTube
Yep.
channel.
I did that 8 years ago, and look at me now. I've been on this YouTube game for 8 years,
Look at
and
you
this
now.
podcast, 8 years, man. 2016, a little bit before that, because I actually had the same channel, but it was originally called Wrestle Talk, but like that's a hush hush because Wrestle Talk was an actual thing in England, but it wasn't a big thing yet. So me and my friends were all like, my friends are like, Joe, isn't Wrestle Talk a real thing? I'm like, it is, but no one knows about it yet. It's all small. And then we did it, and my parents were doing something, and they didn't know about my channel, and I got nervous. I deleted it. But then I was like, man, I shouldn't have, because I had so much content on that channel that could have had thousands of views by now. But this podcast has existed for 4 years, and I've helped so many awesome wrestlers from the West Coast to the East Coast to all the way over to my friends in the UK, to England. Pegasus, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you so much for helping me open Lucha Month that represents this lovely, awesome man right here, Jose Quinones, my grandfather. You'd be so proud of me. Thank you, Grandpa, for giving me this love of professional wrestling. Well, thank you, Grandpa. There you go. Now you can see me. Thank you for making me love wrestling. And I know you all will watch Lucha Month and enjoy this. I am Joe Panther the Third. This is Jose Quinones, and that you are.
I've been the Dynamite Pegasus.
And we will catch you in the next one.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
No problem.